Welcome to the Embodied Mystic podcast, where we explore the path of feminine awakening and luscious womanhood. Together we'll be diving into topics like sacred sexuality, feminine embodiment, spiritual healing, and soulful relationships. I'm your host, Tamar Vikki, tantric mentor and Aries hype girl, here to guide you back to the temple of your body and fall in love with being a woman. I look forward to journeying together. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Embodied Mystic podcast, or welcome if you're new. I'm Tamar Vikki and I'm here again with my bestie, Vikki Oriah.
Hi, so good to be back. Thank you so much for having me.
We're literally in bed.
So nice.
We're chilling in bed. It's great. And if you hear any kind of rustling around or weird sounds, I just want to say I've got a little kitten. I've got a new little kitten and he's living his best life and playing and knocking things off. So if you hear any weird sounds, that's what it is. So we wanted to come on and share a little bit about nourished woman life. Yeah, so this is definitely a point where Vikki and I really meet on this place of just like prioritizing rest.
Oh yeah.
Prioritizing rest, wholesome living, chill, just really protecting our inner peace and our mental energy and just avoiding stressful situations. And this has been such a huge thing for me as someone who's quite prone to anxiety. I'm definitely one of these jittery, anxious people by nature. And yeah, for me, oh my gosh, it's just been so huge learning to listen to my nervous system and not shame myself for when I'm getting stressed, but just realize that I am impacted by my environments. I'm impacted by a lot. And yeah, just learning to minimize those stressful things has taken me on a huge journey. And I know, Vikki, that journey has been really at the forefront for you these past years that I've known you.
Yeah, totally. Such a huge part of my life and growth recently, for sure.
Yeah, I remember when I first, it was before we met, but when I first kind of knew of you, you were a boss babe.
Yeah.
I mean, you still are, but in a very different way. So yeah, I'd love to ask you about that transition because you've been through a big journey.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so a few years ago I was, baby in my business a little bit, just kind of starting out and really, with that boss babe hustle mentality and being a new solopreneur and feeling like I have to do all the things. And also at that time I was super social and extroverted and really, just keeping up with this very, busy lifestyle, the cult of being busy and always having my calendar booked out and just so many things on and really not deeply prioritizing rest and only really resting when I'm just so exhausted. There's no other option.
Yeah.
And actually for me, I didn't just kind of start to think, oh, maybe I should rest more. I got to that through a massive burnout, through pushing way too hard in my business and in my social life as well. And, you know, just being in Bali and trying to do and be all the things. And it just really exhausted me and took me down a whole journey of burnout and recovery from that. And so, yeah, I've just really learned the medicine of resting and going slow and having boundaries as well around, you know, where I put my energy and who I have in my field. And that has just been such a huge lesson and so beneficial for my nervous system, you know, which has been really frazzled. So, yeah, it's been a big journey for me, yeah.
It has. Oh my gosh. And yeah, you know, it's like this thing of like, who do we have in our field and what do we allow in our field? I think this is such a huge topic, especially for people who, you know, identify as empaths or who are highly sensitive. You know, I think most of us, when we're connected to our true nature, we understand how deeply sensitive we are. And yeah, just yesterday, actually, we had this conversation. So I received a message from someone. It was a really mean message. It was a really mean, projecty, horrible message. And I'm like quite confrontational, unlike you, Vikki. And we were talking about this. But yeah, your advice to me was just like, just archive it. Like archive, no response. And usually, like, I would have gone back and just responded. But I've just been reflecting about it, actually, since it happened yesterday. And I feel so much more peaceful. Just letting that negativity just wash over me and be like, I'm not going to engage with this.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to have, you know, the anxiety over like, oh my God, what's the person going to say back? It's like, you know what? I don't need to engage with this energy that's coming towards me. And, you know, just a little side note, it's not to say don't take accountability, but I think when someone's coming with all these projections, I'm sensitive. And I was just like, no, I'm just going to like take Vikki's advice and I feel so much better.
Yeah, exactly. It's this thing I think we feel sometimes of either feeling like obligated, like this awful thing of obligation in life and friendship or connection or family, feeling obliged to do stuff. Oh God, you know, like I should message this person back, you know. And I think in your case, you know, it was so unnecessary for you to just like engage in that example. And I think, you know, no response is a response, and it just diffuses the thing when your deeper truth is that you just don't want to get entangled in that drama, right?
Yeah, so true. And yeah, I think protecting our energy is a thing, and choosing where we put our attention and choosing things that are going to nourish and enrich and rejuvenate rather than things that are going to deplete us and keep us stuck in cycles of drama that are exhausting.
Yeah, like I have definitely felt this around tribe and friendship and community. And, you know, I really, through my burnout process, kind of prior to that, I was very social and going to group events and sister circles and, you know, different things that were on like constantly. And as I was kind of going into burnout and just noticing how I felt in my body after these, you know, big events I would go to, and just noticing the impact of certain people or certain groups on my energy and my body and how I feel, and just becoming like so much more attuned to what's going on for me after I I'm in this very, very social environment, and actually checking in, like, do I really feel like nourished and fulfilled and filled up? Or am I just so exhausted the next day? And I really started noticing how I would go to certain events or see certain people and think that I was kind of enjoying it, think I was having a good time, getting some level of belonging and connection, which I guess was why I was doing with those things. But actually, like, coming home and noticing how I would either feel depleted or be anxious or feel off somehow. And so I was really, really getting into a practice of noticing this. And, what's happened is that I've really significantly limited my social interactions and my extroversion. And I feel so much better for it. I just feel really, really good having more of this solo introverted time, just being in this part of my life where I'm going at a much slower pace and not feeling like I need to be out there doing, socializing, keeping up, being in the circles.
Being seen.
Yeah, exactly. Being, this person, having this identity of who I want to be. And just like letting that go and being okay, not doing all the things and going to all the events and parties and, so yeah, but there was also some grief in that of like letting that, social part of me go. But the other side, it just feels so good. And I do feel so deeply nourished and rested by what I'm replacing that with. Right?
Yeah, which is like a really deep connection to your body, right? Because it's like, I think in social situations, or I have this experience anyway, where I can feel really good when I'm with a person, but then afterwards something happens, and I know there are many women who might feel really good, for example, with a certain man that they're dating, but then they have all kinds of issues coming up with their yoni and with their womb after sleeping with him. And like I've had that before, and it's so fascinating how like our body can really hold this deeper wisdom for us if we're willing to listen. And sometimes we have these more, I don't know, I kind of want to call them like superficial desires, like superficial social desires, or maybe they're more like egoic around like, I don't know, being seen in a certain way, having certain friends, or just, getting some kind of more superficial need met, but actually spending time with certain people just isn't good for us, like on a deeper soul level. And it's so easy to be in denial of that.
Oh, yeah. And like gaslight yourself of being like, of not believing that this isn't good for you, when in your mind, or on maybe a more ego or a different level, you feel like you should be doing this, or it's, or denying how you really feel. Like after interaction. And this just takes like a lot of noticing and attunement and not distracting and escaping. And, I think I used to, I've stopped drinking for the past maybe 8 years or something now. And I think when I did used to drink alcohol, it was helping me like numb all this stuff, and now I get to feel everything because I'm not, engaging in numbing behaviors like I used to. I still have some, of course, but maybe, just like a little bit healthier now. But it's really about just listening within and just like letting all like the noise and what you should do and all this like outside markers of maybe success or doing well in life or, that kind of thing. And actually really attuning to what, my truth is and what feels right and in alignment for me, even if it wasn't what was right and in alignment, 6 months ago.
Yeah. there's like something for me about this piece which is so connected with feminine integrity.
Yeah.
And it's like, for me, like being in integrity with my masculine energy is the part of me that's like, well, I said I'd do this thing at this time with this person, so I'm going to stick with it. And then my like being integrity with my feminine is like, okay, let me feel in. Actually, like how I feel in my body is that I really don't want to do this. Like maybe my body needs rest, or maybe I'm just feeling emotionally like this activity or task is going to be more strenuous than I feel is right for me, and I want to honor that. And yeah, I might disappoint someone or let someone down, but honoring my body and my energy feels like the thing I want to prioritize.
Yeah.
And, you know, as with anything, being integrity with our feminine versus our masculine, there is no better or worse. I think it's just like, what do we need more of?
Yeah.
And yeah, in this culture that we're in, which is like a hustle culture really, and a productivity-based culture, I think it's really common, like especially like with spiritual entrepreneurs, it's like we've gone into this kind of, I don't know, work wanting to be an entrepreneur in a different way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think many of us have fallen into this trap of feeling like, wow, I've got to produce this amount of thing if I want to make X amount of money, and I've got to do. And it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow, this is just conditioning.
Yeah, and I think that's just such a good point you made about, you know, the feminine and the masculine, and how rest is inherently more of a feminine energy thing to do. But yeah, in our hustle culture, it's like actually oftentimes shamed, even to the extent, you know, of just like needing time out, needing rest, needing sleep, needing a break. It's so much more about push, and yeah, it even is alive within, you know, the spiritual entrepreneurial community, you know, to be productive and successful and get your whatever months money wise you want to have, and
10K months, 20K months,
exactly.
30K months.
And it's like, really, I'm on the process of like not having my worth determined by my productivity, and that feels like a really deep journey of uncoupling those things, because there's been so many times, even in our, you know, the entrepreneurial circles we're in, where I feel like I have, you know, allowed myself to believe that I'm more worthy if I'm earning more money and more productive, and, you know, I have more clients or more courses than less. Yeah. Right. And it's just so unhealthy. And this is really a journey. The journey of kind of rest and slow living is a journey of the feminine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Vikki, I just love so much how we've bonded over our desire for like cozy, nourished home life. What a vibe.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's been something so beautiful for me to really connect with my own, I would say, like kind of like womanly desire to nest. And I feel like this connects so deeply to my own sense of nourishment, is feeling really settled and grounded and fulfilled by my home space. So really prioritizing making my home super beautiful and like a really enjoyable place for me to be, and spending more time at home cooking. Oh my God.
So good.
Getting excited about like food, but the whole process of like making my own food and getting really excited about new recipes, and yeah, just really exploring these more like grounded, homey things that are just so nourishing, and I feel like they're preparing me in some way for like motherhood and family life, but I get to do this as like a maiden.
Yeah.
And it's given me so much life.
Yeah, I agree. I'm the same in this whole journey, in just the whole slowing down. It's like I love cooking and making things from scratch, and just like eating really wholesome plant-based food. And before that, my diet was really not healthy at all, and I didn't really think about food that much. And I think, yeah, what we put in our bodies, it's just like the primary nourishment. It's so important. And yeah, just having this more home focused life, and just being okay with not being busy and doing things and getting loads of things done, and just the things being done are just like having a like really fulfilling time. Yeah, preparing the food that's going in my body. And another thing I know we're both really feeling nourished by is our creativity.
Yeah.
And this has also been something for me, getting more in touch with my creativity and doing more art and doing our ceramics together. Just doing things with my hands and making things and drawing things, it just feels like just so aligned to nourishing myself. Yeah.
It's so grounding as well to be like off screen.
Oh, yeah.
And just get creative and just be in that space of creating just for joy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's so wholesome.
I know, I love it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, like I used to be a million miles an hour, Manigen mania everywhere, all the time. Like I definitely have this part of me that just loves to get shit done. And I'm like running from A to B. But I have just noticed like such a huge improvement in my well-being when I just give myself like ample time to be at home, to move slowly. And yeah, again, it's like it's really easy for me to like be in this moving very quickly space and then get super anxious and agitated, just be all over the place and just wondering why I'm so stressed. Like wondering why my stress is through the roof. And yeah, there's just been such medicine for me in learning slowness.
Yeah. When it's like also the world is just not set up for that.
Right.
You know, so it's like really radical actually to just really slow down. And I think another thing for me is I'm a recovering people pleaser.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and when you are just trying to people please everyone else, you get really busy.
Yeah.
Trying to make everyone else happy, and, you know, really at the expense of myself and what actually I really want. And actually, I think on a deep level, not only was I, you know, getting burnout from hustle, working so much, but also just the lifelong exhaustion of being a people pleaser. You know, being really actually detached from my needs and my desires, and then getting the burnout made it like I just have to think about what I need and what's going to be best for my physical and mental health. Because it has just been such a journey into my mental wealth. And yeah, on this journey of burnout, just like going to some really dark places and really hitting some bottoms, and, you know, having real struggles with identity, and, you know, being so hermity and worrying what's wrong with me. And I've experienced a lot of fatigue, just like, you know, just so, and if anyone's listening who's had burnout, you'll know what I'm talking about, of just being so exhausted and so tired and feeling just like I need to sleep all the time. And just watching myself where I've had judgments about that and being like, oh no, I'm not getting things done, I'm lazy, what's wrong with me, you know, just all this like mental questioning, and then getting to the point of actually seeing the deeper truth of like, I just really, really need this. I just really, really need this time of non-doing and just completely like horizontal and letting it all go. And this has been such a confronting journey, and it's really made me just look at so many parts of myself and look at all my stuff. And I feel like, you know, really only now is when I'm kind of really getting it, you know, really getting what this journey that I'm in is about, and like seeing what can come from it, from this more slowed down life of a more centered, regulated, grounded way I can move in the world. Yeah, and that feels really powerful.
Wow. Yeah, watching you, Vikki, and witnessing you on this journey, it's felt like an underworld journey, like this kind of descent into the deep feminine of like non-doing, and yeah, kind of having different pieces like being almost like taken away, like different aspects of your being, and you know who you were, your identity. There's definitely been like a crumbling of that, and yeah, you've been through a really powerful journey, and watching you find, it's like you've like felt your way through this, and still feeling your own way through to your own deeper sense of nourishment, and finding like, what are the things that nourish you? What are the things that bring you life and health and energy, and like what's really lighting you up on a deep level, and prioritizing those things, and beginning to choose things that nourish you on a deep level. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Thanks, babe. Yeah, it has definitely been a journey, and it's just felt like, you know, really giving myself permission to do what is soul nourishing, and actually even knowing what that is, actually. Because for so long I thought it was one thing, and then with this crumbling away of old identities, I've realized, oh no, that's actually not it. There's something else that's nourishing me, and it's more of this whole slow life, you know, living and lifestyle, that we're talking about, and that we're both really excited about. It just feels so good.
It does. It feels really, really, really good. Yeah. So one thing that I really wanted to talk about, that Vikki and I have both experienced kind of at different levels, is post-traumatic fatigue. And that's when, after experiencing some kind of trauma, we experience exhaustion. So we might have days, weeks, even months of feeling just wiped out and so tired, and just really noticing that our energy levels have been like extremely impacted, and just feeling super tired. So I had this last year. I experienced sexual assault here in Bali, which, you know, obviously is extremely, it's traumatizing, you know, it's just a huge thing for the system to experience. And what else was going on for me is that I also had to move home and find a new place to live. And then I also had a lover who was leaving the country like that weekend, and it was so intense. Like, I just so needed home and grounded and stable and like nothing to deal with apart from healing myself. But obviously there were just all these external stressors, and yeah, it just wiped me out, and I was so exhausted. And then, yeah, Vikki, I know you've dealt with this on a kind of even wider scale where, you know, having a traumatic event created like a more chronic fatigue kind of situation with you. So I kind of just wanted to open up this aspect of like exhaustion and like what's on the other side of nourishment, and like what supported us at like our different levels of exhaustion, what supported us to get back to a more functional and more like vibrant, alive state of being. And I know like you're still very much in this exploration as it's like a longer and more chronic thing for you. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I had, as I kind of mentioned, a big burnout, but in the lead up to that, I had, just a number of really intense traumatic events like piling up on each other. And so it was just got to the point where my nervous system was just absolutely fried. I just hadn't really had the space to just deal with all the things that were going on in my life. And I also too had, you know, some instability and uncertainty in there as well. So what I noticed first was that I was highly, highly anxious. I had never really suffered that much from anxiety, but I was so anxious, and that kind of came before the fatigue hit me. And so, you know, what I would tell my younger self now is to really, at the point of being highly anxious, to really take that seriously and to really look at ways where, especially somatically, where I can really bring that kind of fight or flight response down and really, learn to work with and ease that sense of anxiety. Before it gets to the point where your body does that for you, just shuts you down, puts you in freeze, and then you're like, okay, not getting out of bed now. So yeah, I think that's the first thing, is to look for the early signs.
Could you give an example of what's a way that someone could deal with that somatically?
So I would actually, the best thing I think you can do is work with a somatic therapist who you can, you know, see every week, and they can really guide you into slowing down and being with your body and noticing the sensations in your body. If you're able to access that, that would be what I number one recommend. And then aside from that, I would also recommend to do gentle exercise, but not super intense exercise, because I think when you're in a heightened state, doing a lot of intense exercise can just feed it a bit. Whereas doing things that are more relaxed, like the best thing I think you can do is like a gentle walk in nature. Just really, you know, be aware, not listening to like podcast or music, just being really present.
Apart from this one.
Except this one. That's okay. This episode is fine if you're walking through the woods listening. And just overall just having much better body awareness. And so really noticing what's going on in your body and really like nourishing that and attuning to that. So just even doing gentle movement and yoga, stretching, and having a lot of time as well, as much as you can, in nourishing, healthy connection. And that can be with like animals, it can be with family, it can be with like friends who make you feel calm. So I feel like with this kind of thing, when you're at that really anxious stage, it's to just find those little moments throughout your day and just have as many as possible that are bringing you connection, grounding, and calmness. Yeah, I think these are the things I think that were most useful for me. And how about for you? What do you have other things you find helpful?
Yeah, so after I had that experience last year, I basically put myself on like a protocol, and I was like, okay, I am prioritizing my nervous system right now. So like once I'd moved to this new place, I really prioritized for that next month grounding at home, because I think, after a big traumatic event, or even like when we're anxious, our energy is kind of like it's like moving very quickly. It's like vibrating quite fast in like this agitated way. And my sense of it energetically is it's like rising up. It's like a very mental kind of thing. And sometimes we're actually out of our body. And so like bringing that energy downwards and focusing on like really grounding, slow practices. Like you said, having a walk in nature is so amazing. Like nature is the original healer. So definitely making time to be in nature, like being barefoot on the ground is incredible. And like earthing, that's a real thing, where the earth literally absorbs our like negative energy. I was getting early nights, making sure that I was really getting my 8 hours, or even 9 or 10 hours during that time. I was reducing my screen time because I was noticing like I was wanting to be more on my devices, kind of as like a way to like soothe myself and just like be in the scroll. But I could feel also that like looking at the screen, it was like actually making me more anxious. It was making me feel more in my head. And so just having time where I wasn't looking at a screen, like even if I would listen to an audiobook but lie in my hammock, like that was so beautiful for me. And what was super supportive was having a really healthy diet and having lots of nervine tonics, and working with plants that really support our nervous system. So of course, like everyone needs to do their own research, and everyone has their own constitution and their own like medical background. So definitely like choose which herb is right for you, and probably consult with like a practitioner before just like trying any of these things. But for me, blue lotus is a plant that I love and that I have worked with quite deeply, and it's very relaxing, supports the nervous system. So blue lotus, passion flower is relaxing, lemon balm, chamomile, getting magnesium also to support sleep. And I think I might have been working also with L-theanine and melatonin before bed, which was amazing. And these things are all natural. I don't recommend going down the pharmaceutical route as like a go-to. I think it's better to like leave these things for when we're really, really at a point where other things aren't working, this is what I feel most aligned with for myself. But yeah, like these plants and herbs were amazing, and I still really rely on them. They really help me. Like I've always got my little passion flower spray and my little chill pills, which are a blend of like all these different kinds of herbs. I think it's valerian, lemon balm, magnesium, and I don't remember the other one, but yeah, these things were hugely supportive.
Yeah, wow, that's so good. Yeah, I think it's just all round nourishing in all the areas that you can access. And I think another part of this is, if you are in that place of just complete exhaustion, is to just to give yourself permission to have the rest. Just like sleep all day, sleep all night, like clear your calendar out, let people know that you're just having some hermit time, and not to feel guilty about not messaging back or not going to things, or letting people down, which is so much easier said than done, I know, but that is part of the journey, just to let yourself be a puddle, let yourself collapse and be in the void of not knowing when you're going to have enough rest and come out of it. And I think that is sometimes quite scary when it's been days or weeks or months and you're like, I'm still so fatigued. And you're like, when is this ever going to let up? Am I just going to be like this forever? And, really overcoming that kind of line of thinking and just really seeing like, wow, my body is really giving me such a clear message that it still needs rest, and not to override or fight that, and just let yourself have that restful time. Because the more you can just go in deep and let yourself rest, the more healthily you're going to come out the other side. And I don't want to say the more quickly you'll come out the other side, because sometimes, it takes a long time for your nervous system to get over whatever's put it in this state, and we cannot rush that. Yeah. And it's important to just give ourselves that spaciousness to go in and go down.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I know that financial pressure is one of the biggest reasons that people don't allow themselves to rest. And I think something that's really important just in our culture as a whole is like understanding the severity of this, and how if we keep pushing through the exhaustion, we can severely damage our health. And that really the sooner we can just go through the portal of truly embracing our vulnerability here and asking for help, like asking for help from our employers, not employees, but maybe also employees if we need, time off and we need them to step up more, or asking for support from our family, from our friends, whether that's, financial or just having them support you in some kind of way. I just think this is such an important time to be vulnerable and be in community and to receive.
Absolutely. Yeah, this really is such an important teaching within this process. And again, it's like a message from the feminine, of like, this is really requiring us to deepen into our feminine energy and ask for help and receive and be vulnerable. And it's hard if you're a person that's like been independent and done it yourself most of your life, like, so many women do, and we feel a lot of resistance to being supported. But actually, it's really beautiful what it can open up when we let people help us. Yeah. And, yeah, it's been really, really a big journey for me of letting my family in more. And there's been a really big journey I've been on repairing my relationship with my father in all of this, and really letting him in more and asking him for help. And I'm seeing it as well in my business about, getting help in my business rather than just solopreneuring it, boss babying it, and actually getting the support that I need. So it's been very humbling to my independent woman, this whole journey, but so good ultimately in terms of my wholeness as a human, and really giving some spaciousness to these parts of me I just have disallowed, or I haven't let myself have. Yeah.
Love that, babe. Well, yeah, this has been a big conversation. I feel it's important, and yeah, I hope that you've received something from this. Let us know on Instagram if there was something that really resonated with you, or something that touched you.
Yeah, definitely feel free to shoot me a message. I know how lonely this path can feel, but I promise you're not alone. And if you resonate with this, you will get through to another side, and you're going to feel even better for it. And just sending so many blessings on your journey wherever you are at.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks, Vikki. Thanks for coming on for another bestie episode.
Yay.
It's been a little bit of a different vibe this time, but it feels really good to get into these things.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are totally just in the rest vibe. It was just the perfect day to talk about this on your bed, chilling.
Totally.
Amazing.
Oh. You're listening to the Embodied Mystic podcast. Thank you for being here and for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and that it could serve you in some way. I'd love to hear from you. My inbox is always open. Let me know what spoke to you in this episode, and if there was a moment that lit you up or brought you into deeper self-reflection. If you loved this episode, I'd be super grateful if you took a moment to leave a review or share with a friend. You can do this easily by visiting the link in the show notes. It's been a real pleasure connecting with you today, and see you soon.